Well, hello and welcome. Welcome to Bijou Podcast. This episode is season 2, episode 15, and it's called Apples. But let's get this show started right.
Bijou Podcast. Life may not be perfect, but we'll try to find some fun.
Welcome to Bijou Podcast. It's great to be here with you right now, and I'm glad that you are experiencing our show. Bijou Podcast is about finding joy in the chaos, and today's topic is apples. Funny thing, apples, they are fruit, and it might be an interesting topic when we're looking for joy. But apples have a lot to offer us. They're part of our society, they're part of our culture. They have been used in religious stories and in many ways for people to explain things. They have used apples. They've been associated with love and are often depicted with Venus. And references to apples have often been mystical and are about forbidden fruit. The story Snow White has an apple that has been poisoned, which would be easily desired by an innocent person. So apples, which are actually just fruit and bring us nutrition, have turned into something mystical and interesting. So I thought we should talk about that. There's a lot to apples that could be said. We have many phrases about them. In fact, there's the apple of my eye, which comes from Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, and that was actually meant literally. But today, when people say apple of my eye, it's usually meant for a compliment, to say that you are bright and shining and admirable. Whereas for Shakespeare, it was just referring to the pupil of the eye. We also have the Big Apple, which is New York. And if you want to know the reason that New York is called the Big Apple, it has to do with Fitzgerald writing for a newspaper at a time when New York had the best monetary prizes for horse racing. And of all the different horse racing prizes, New York had the best prizes. So to win the prize for a horse race in New York was to win the Big Apple. Okay? And it's funny now because when people talk about going to the Big Apple, I don't think most of us even think about horse racing. It's often thought of today as a place to chase your dreams if you want to be on Broadway or have some kind of acting or modeling career, make movies, write plays, be a writer. So when people say, I know when I was a kid, there was this this cassette tape that I used to play over and over again, and it was sung by Strawberry Shortcake, and she would sing, "These Vagabond Blues." I want to be a part of it in all New York, and that was sung by Strawberry Shortcake on the cassette I had. But making it, if I can't make it here, I can't make it anywhere. It's up to you, It's up to you, New York, right? So the whole thing, the Big Apple, it kind of turned into a lot of other things after it had its original meaning. But the point is, it's still a place that is looked up to, and the Big Apple is seemingly not connected to what it means, right? There is no Big Apple, right? Even when the ball drops, it's not an apple, right? For New Year's Eve. So another meaning Another association with apples that I know of from pop culture, and there are 7,500 types of apples. Okay. We don't see all those different types at the store, of course. And the different types of apples come in such a variety of colors. But there's one more cultural reference when we think about the shape of apples. And people have talked about like facial cheeks and having appley cheeks. But another kind of cheeks were part of a really famous song and a famous line of jeans, because Nelly is an artist, a rap artist, and Nelly came out with apple bottom jeans. And Flo Rida, another artist, came up with a song in 2007 where he sang about girls wearing apple bottom jeans. Apple bottom jeans are for girls with shapely hips, rounded hips, and the figure of a woman. And so apple bottom jeans make the bottom cheeks look rounded and at their best. So apple bottom jeans are meant to show the roundness of the buttocks and to make them look their best, like round apples. And the song is singing about how good the ladies look in those jeans. And when they dance, it's a yes. So all of these different references to apples, and still, why do I bring them up, right? Why do I bring them up on a podcast that's about finding joy? Well, for one thing, it's just fun to think about how many things in our culture get turned into a series of things. People reference that thing. And so even if I pick one subject like apples, I can find a whole bunch of things about it. And I'm not even talking about the company, which I won't, because that's not what this is about. This is about apples. So I wanted to show how very wonderful these apples are. I have a few apples with me here today. I've got this wonderful Granny Smith. Granny Smith has a wonderful color, and it's like a bright green. And it's kind of a tart taste, kind of tart. The variety of apples you can get apples with all kinds of designs in them. This one has an interesting stripe. I wonder if the lighting will allow me to show it. There it is. See that stripe? It's over here. It's super cute. I just really wanted to show you the coloring. You know, apples come in so many different types. I have a few more behind me here. Those are real apples. I have them live on scene. And when I think about apples and how much joy I get from apples, it has to do with them as a fruit, of course, because when I'm with my favorite kind, which is the Golden Delicious apple, all I can think about is how much I really want to eat it. I can look at its beautiful color. It is golden, right? It's a golden color. It's a golden delicious apple, and I'm excited to eat it from its shining color. And I also can feel its skin and be present with it, because this is something grown from nature. It grows on a tree. It has just this little thing left that was hanging on to a tree, this stem right here. And it was part of nature. And it's amazing to know that fruit grows on trees and bushes, plants, and that something that grows in nature we can eat, and that it will have nutrition in it, and it will help our body. They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. I find that interesting. That has to do with the nutrition you get from having an apple. It also keeps tummy troubles away because fruits have fiber, and that fiber is meant to help push things through our system and help with peristalsis, or the process of food particles being pushed through our intestines. And so, if we think of apples as health and not as a temptation, uh, they might be a temptation because they taste good. But if we think of apples as health, then we can love them. They have different flavors and they're good for different things. I like making apple pie, apple crisp, which the difference there is about whether you have pie crust or you're using like an oatmeal, cinnamon, brown sugar mixture as a topping. It's really easy to cook these up. You can put on your oven to 350 degrees. You can even go up to 425 degrees depending on how crispy and how quickly you're trying to cook. But 350 degrees is a nice temperature if you want to slice your apple into slices, put it onto a cookie tray, and sprinkle some cinnamon, a little bit brown sugar, maybe some oatmeal, not cooked oatmeal, just oats, right? And you can, some people even put butter, but you could use a healthy oil, like one of those oils that are good for in the oven, like avocado oil. You could sprinkle just a bit if you're not using butter, and you can just let it cook in there for 20 minutes. You know, keep an eye on it with the oven door closed but the light on so you can see in. And when everything looks like it's bubbling nicely and the apples are getting cooked down a little bit, you can take those out and have a delicious, quick dessert that isn't horribly bad for you, as long as you don't use too much brown sugar. And you can have all kinds of wonderful adventures with apples, making apple crisp, making apple pie. And one thing that makes them even better is when you mix different types of apples, because all the different apples have slightly different conditions to them. So they're going to have different colors of skin, they're going to have different tastes, and mixing them together in, say, an apple pie allows for a great taste combination, a variety of taste that goes into that. And so when they bake together into the pie, it tastes even better because you have a variety of apple types in that apple pie. I also like to make candied apples or caramel apples in October, especially around Halloween. I love to just take a whole bunch of caramels, melt them down in a crock pot, or if I'm not going to make that many of them, like if I'm going to make 6 to 12 of them, then I use a crock pot. I melt down caramels, unwrap individual caramels, melt them down in a crock pot with water, and dip clean apples on popsicle sticks into it. Anyway, you can look up directions on how to make them, but caramel apples are extremely tasty. What else do I like with apple? I just like the feel of apples. I like the crunch of them. I think they have so much to offer. They reference apples a lot in culture. The more you think about it, the more you're probably coming up with some for yourself too. I think apples are part of joy for a lot of reasons. Because if we're eating something healthy, we feel better. If we are seeing apples in nature, then we know that things seem to have a somewhat of a connection, a chain between living things. That makes us feel happy. Or if we think about songs using apples, we can make up our own songs with apples. So there are a lot of ways that we can find joy from apples. And I think the best way to enjoy apples is to eat them. So when I look at this apple, I just am so tempted to want to take a bite out of it. And I know there will be sensations at that moment. I mean, how often when we eat do we actually feel the process of eating? I mean, really feel the process of eating. That means when we bite into something, Do we really feel that experience? Or are we busy watching something or talking to someone or listening to something else? If we were to just focus on the eating process, we would be extremely present in that moment. And our whole sensation choice would be awakened and open, because we would think about what it feels like if we hold it in our hand, what it feels like if we were to get next to it. I can smell it, right? I can feel it. And of course, I could taste it. So I would be able to take a bite of it, move it around in my mouth. My tongue can feel certain sensations, and there will be sensations beyond just the sensation of taking a bite and chewing and moving it in my mouth, but also of the taste going over my taste buds and my brain interpreting those tastes. And truly, just the process of eating an apple can turn into something that is quite pleasurable. Just eating an apple, right? Just eating an apple. It just unlocks so much joy. We don't think it would, because we're so used to eating on the run and having other things to do. But I'm telling you, if you were to get an apple and experience it too, then you would know that what I'm saying is true. So, when you think about apples, I hope you will think about a variety of things, not just how they are referred to in culture or negative spins that are put on them. Is it possible that maybe people have been led to believe that there's something bad about apples? I don't know. But all I can tell you is I haven't had bad experiences with apples. I've heard jokes about bad experiences with apples, but I have never had those experiences. And by jokes, I mean a very popular one from when I was a kid. It went like this: what's worse than biting into an apple and finding a worm? And the answer is biting into an apple and finding half a worm. Now, of course, that's never happened to me, but it used to make me a little grossed out when I was a kid. But nowadays, we don't find worms in our apples. I don't know if they ever even did before. All I know is if I'm lucky enough to be able to buy my own apples and clean them, and I like to get organic apples so that I feel like they're as fresh as possible and good for me as possible, made with as few of chemicals and foreign things as possible, then I can feel like it was grown from the earth in as natural a way as possible, and that it is good because it was grown for me to eat, right? So I hope that you will consider the joys of something as simple as an apple. It really extends to other things as well. It's not just the idea of we should eat fruit. It's the idea of enjoying healthy food and what it does for our body, and thinking about positive things while we're eating positive things, and how that can have a calming effect. Because if I'm just thinking about one thing at a time, this one apple that I'm going to eat, then I can enjoy that moment for as long as it takes. I hope that you will think about enjoying things in a simple way, no matter what it is that you're choosing to eat. If you think about those processes in a very basic, in the moment kind of way, then you can be present to experience it fully. I know often people have said that I eat way too slowly when I'm with company and I'm eating. I tend to take breaks between types of food and just let the process take a long time. Not only is that good for digestion, but it allows me to enjoy it more. It allows me to spread out the time and not pound the food down mindlessly, but to take the moment and to feel, right? So, this has been tempting me for a while, and I think I'm going to have to do something about it soon. So, I want you to think about things that are simple, like eating and tasting our food and enjoying all that life has to offer. And know that almost anything can have a cultural reference, can have a background to it, but in its most simplest form, it is something that we can enjoy. I hope you'll take the time to enjoy something today too. But right now, it's my turn. I'm doing this. I'm going to do it live. I'm going to bite into an apple live. And who knows what will happen? What if all of this apple disintegrates, turns into lots of tiny pieces, and goes shattering down all over my equipment, and everything gets wet with juicy apple? Well, if that happens, I will be super surprised. But I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to see what happens. Wish me luck. That's juicy. I'm telling you. That's a good apple. Yeah. Can you see that? A little profile. It brings a phrase to mind that I used to say. I still say it, let's be honest. Flavor crystals. And it's from a random commercial from when I was young. But flavor crystals is the right phrase for this because it's so juicy, so delicious, and I can work my way around this apple. As long as I don't eat the seeds, then I'll be in good health, right? Because apple seeds are one of the few things you can't eat, you know? I really hope the microphone picked up the sound. I'm going to try one more time to crunch it. Here we go. I don't want to make you listen to me chewing, but the crunch of the apple is classic. Just saying. Have fun eating fruit. Treat others well. Enjoy nature. Take your time with your food, especially your healthy food. And I'll be with you next time. Looking forward to next time. We're going to go 7 more episodes to finish out this season. So we are getting closer to the 3rd season, but for now we have 7 more to go. I'm looking forward to those episodes, and I'm getting ready for all my new plans for season 3. So I hope you've been enjoying. I look forward to our next session. This has been Bijou Podcast. I'm Julie Elizabeth, happy to be your host, and I'm happy because I choose to be. I look for jewels of joy wherever I go. I'm not perfectly happy at all times, but I do put on a good face for the show because, come on, I can't lead people looking for joy if I'm not looking for joy, right? But I hope we will look for joy together. Just a trinket, just a jewel of joy to bring happiness to our lives. And even little things like apples can do that. If you've enjoyed this episode of Bijou Podcast, I hope you will get involved. You can find us on YouTube. It's Worldview, Bijou Podcast, Look Within. Our YouTube channel is called Worldview, Bijou Podcast, Look Within. You can also find us on our website. It's thebijoupodcast.com. That's thebijoupodcast.com. You can also find us on social media. We are on Instagram and Twitter. It's at Bijou Podcast. And we're looking forward to adding more all the time. Lots of work is going into continuing to improve, and we're always looking for guests. So reach out on the website if you're interested in being a guest on the show. Otherwise, I'll be with you next time. Thanks a lot. Don't forget to take simple pleasures like apples. Bye. Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, that's why my nails are red and green. For apples of September. Bye.